Hi everyone, this is Com 102, what to do with your app once you're done with it, how to continue supporting it, how to make it better, and how to make sure you don't just stop when you release version 1.0. First, a little bit about myself. I've been publishing apps under the name of Ebsker for 3 years now, mostly a focus on puzzle games, and certainly a focus on the BlackBerry platform. Well over 90% of the work I do is for BlackBerry, and I always code with a BlackBerry first approach. So as I said, 1.0 of your app cannot be it. You need to update your app. You need to market your app. You need to support your customers long term. If you don't do anything beyond just releasing it to App World, you're not going to find success. If you want to do well, you need to stay invested in it for a long period of time. A quick, release and walk away is not going to get any long-term success. Let's start with promotion. You can put it on App World and you will be seen in the new section, and that will last 1 day, and after that, unless you do any promotion, no one will know about your app, and it will just trickle down to no downloads. So you need to make sure you promote it. Fortunately, this is easier than you might think. You don't need to spend a lot of money, but you do need to put in some effort. The best way to go about this is to be involved with the community as a whole, to talk to the blogs who are looking for stuff to write about anyhow, to go and help other developers and help your users and get them excited about your app and have them help spread your message and have them tell people, because that's what really drives downloads, is personal recommendations. All the banner advertising in the world doesn't get people excited. But if an app is recommended by a friend, you're far more likely to check it out, give it a chance, and go download it. Be loud, be proud, and be cool is the marketing slogan that college hockey uses for sportsmanship. It's a very silly slogan for that, but it makes sense for promoting your app. Those are really the 3 steps you need to do. You need to tell people about your app. Who? Well, everyone. More specifically, as I said, talk to blogs. There are many BlackBerry-focused blogs, and they want to write about your apps. They need the content. They need to write about something, and you can help them by giving them something to write about. Also, you should focus on more outside blogs related to your app's intent. I focus mostly on gaming, and so I will also approach gaming blogs and general mobile gaming blogs. If you're in something like real estate, there are blogs for that too. It's easy enough to help them out, get word out about your app, and get it spread. You should tell your friends and your family, and most importantly, you should tell friends of your previous apps. Promoting your second app is a lot easier than promoting your first one, because you've already found a base of people who enjoy the types of apps you create. Like I said, I'm focused on strategy games. If I know people like my first app, I could then approach them and be like, hey, there's another app. It's, again, a strategy app. It's a game. You'll enjoy it. And this works. The other ways of getting good publicity is to remember that everything you do is marketing. It's not just putting up the ads and not just directly trying to get media attention, but you can get marketing by helping out other developers and having other developers and other trusted community members then trust you and promote what you're doing. You can get attention by just speaking your mind and being honest. There is a lot of approach online where people are just trying to say the right thing, say the proper thing. And I found that if I write up a blog post and I am very aggressive, it'll get a lot more attention. If I say something dry and uninteresting, nobody cares. But if I speak my mind, if I give an opinion, then people will notice, people will link to it, and more people will find out about what I'm making. Last thing is solid customer support. Just on the basis of providing good customer support, people will come to like your apps. They will recognize that you have done them right and that you have supported them long term. And they will use that and they will appreciate that and they will recommend your apps to other people. We can go a little more into customer support now, because it's one place you really can impress people. The expectation for customer support is that you're going to call a number, get stuck on hold for 2 hours, and then talk to somebody in India who's just going off a script. By just providing a real, honest response, and by simply just getting back to people, even if you can't be super helpful, you can get back to them and at least acknowledge the problem. You're already miles ahead of most customer support situations. The bar is set so low, and you should take advantage of that and come out ahead and come out where people appreciate the effort you put into it. Now, there's no avoiding customer support either, because no matter how perfectly designed you think your app is, there's going to be flaws. People will complain. People will not understand things. People will want your app connected to Facebook even if it makes no sense at all. And people will let you know about it. But the thing is, when people let you know that they have a problem with your app, it's actually a good thing. And you should view this as a positive activity. And once you view customer support as a positive activity, it's a lot easier to take the time to do it and to be willing to do it right. Again, as I said, everything is marketing, and you can use the low expectations to your advantage. But it's also good feedback. You don't really need to complain about the people who complain. The people who complain are trying to get through it. They're trying to make things right. The bigger worry are the people who don't complain and just delete your app. Then you've lost a customer. And if your app is dependent on advertising, you need that repeat engagement. A single download who will view your app a single time and run a single page view is not going to bring in any revenue. So you want customers who actually use your apps. And once they've downloaded it, they need to keep using it and to keep the engagement and to keep the excitement with the app in general. So you can use the feedback from the complaints, you can make your app better. If you constantly find people are failing at understanding some UI scheme you set up, you know that you need to fix that. You know that it needs to be improved. And you can't just blame the customer for not understanding it. Because easy as that is, it doesn't help you in the long run. And then the people who offer feature requests, yes, you cannot say yes to every feature. But you also have to recognize that these people like your app. And they like your app so much that they're trying to help you make it better. You can't listen to every feature. You can't implement every feature. But these people are on your side. And you need to keep that in mind. And this all goes towards making customer support a net positive instead of a cost center. And once you consider customer support to be a net positive, you want to do as much of it as you can. And so you need to find the other channels that you can contact people through. People often post on Twitter about their app experience. There are reviews on BlackBerry World. If you get listed in blog, there will be comments, and there are forums. These are all different venues that people use to discuss your apps, and they are as useful and as valuable as direct feedback to you. Oftentimes, especially with Twitter, they're even more useful because you see how people are discussing the app between themselves and between their friends and not coming to you directly with a complaint. And so you can see more real-life usage of how people view your apps. And because we're viewing customer support as a net positive, this is an additional place to get feedback and to get more engagement. Another thing you should be doing is updating your apps. Version 1.0, you may think it's great, but there's more that will come along. And I went the wrong way on the slide. Okay. General point of releasing updates: fix bugs, apply features, but also to use that feedback that you've been getting from your customers and back to marketing again to generate some publicity. Why? Because everything is marketing. And updating your app is probably the best marketing you can get. It gives you a reason to get another press cycle. Every time you release, it's a reason to write about you. It's a reason to write about what you're doing. People will not put up a blog post to say, hey, this app still exists. But they will say it's been updated to version 2.3. So it's a free opportunity to get some marketing and should take care of it. Also, there's the fact that every time you update it, AppWorld will notify your customers of the update. This is useful if you need that day-to-day engagement, because once they get the notification of the update, that's a reminder that, yes, this app is actually installed on your device. That little reminder gets people back involved with the app. If they've forgotten about it, it's a reminder that, yes, that app's there, maybe I like that, and they'll go back to playing your game. And again, this is especially important if you have a revenue model based on ad views, because advertising only pays off if people are actually using the app on a day-to-day basis. If it's just sitting on their phone unused, that doesn't help you at all. Now, I personally think that updates are also the best opportunity to get people to write reviews on your app. Most people will not review your app. We all know that reviews help, but no matter what, most people will not actually leave a review. And really the only good way to get more reviews is to get more users. I've talked to a developer who put it in a pop-up button. Would you like to review my app? Yes, no. Attached analytics to it and found that over 30,000 people, everyone said no. But when you update your app, you have the person who likes your app enough that they didn't delete it, they're thinking about your app, and they are currently inside AppWorld, one click away from that review. If there's ever a chance that they're going to go ahead and update the app, this is it. Also, customers are happy that you stick with the app. People want to see repeat engagement. People want to see you continually involved in the app. If you release updates often, people know that you're not leaving the app behind, and that it's not just done and over with to you, and that if a problem does come up in the future, it has a decent chance of being addressed. Okay, the other reason to update, as I said earlier, is to make use of feedback. All the complaints you're looking at, all the feature requests, they're only good if you actually make use of them and actually implement that into updates and making your app better. This is one of my games, Pixelated, and for version 2.3, I changed the shade of the orange color. It was a very small change. I liked it, and pretty much nobody else did. You would not believe the number of complaints I got from people who could not see the difference between orange and red on their screen. It's a good thing people complain, though. If everyone had just decided that they can no longer see the difference and that they're just deleting the app and moving on, I wouldn't know to fix it, and I wouldn't know to make things better. So in version 2.4, made a small little change, different shade of red, and the complaint stopped. It wasn't a hard problem to fix, but without addressing the complaint and without listening to the complaint and without knowing about it, it could have been a long-term problem. It's also a way to get new features. This is a screenshot from my app Twinkle, which is a date tracking app. And it's currently a version 4.0. And since version 1.0, the features that have been added, I would say that around 90% of them have come from user requests. People who are using the app for things that I never envisioned. People who are finding different ways to use the app. Personally, when I use it, I have very few dates in it. Other users have lots of dates, and so they request additional features for sorting and better understanding and dealing with the large amount of data. Personally, those are features that I never would have thought of because they don't fit my use case. I see people using the app for tracking birthdays of their friends and seeing, okay, friend's birthday is 5 days away. And because of feedback like that, I can say, okay, well, we can import birthdays from your contacts. Personally, that's not a feature I would make good use of. But because I'm getting feedback from others, it's something I know that people will find valuable and I can add. The other thing is by paying attention, you can see how people are using the app and implement features that people aren't necessarily requesting for. So I'm saying here, this is what Twitter ended up doing with the hashtag and the @user replies. Initially, those were not parts of Twitter, but Twitter saw their use and implemented it. And if you can get enough feedback from your users, you could do similar things. I've pictured here a user who's talking about being pixelated in 21 moves, and I see posts like this frequently on Twitter. People are trying to share their accomplishments and share what they've done, and they've been doing this for a long time. So recently, I added features built into the app to make that easier. It's not anything anyone explicitly asked for, but you can see that it's things that people want to do. And people will want to make sharing and things like that a priority. If you don't think of it from version 1, it's something you can still add to make the app better. Now, the other thing, of course, is BlackBerry 10 has just been announced. And with the new OS, there are a lot more features. There's a lot more we can do, and that's another good reason to update your app. There's more now available in terms of feature set and SDK than there was before, and it would be best to make use of that. This graph here shows the update rates on the BlackBerry PlayBook. and that they are very, very rapid. This chart only goes up to March, but really at this point, you could go and release a brand new app that supported a minimum operating system of 2.0.1, and nobody would care because the update rates on the PlayBook are that aggressive. Good news is BlackBerry 10 will be using the same updating mechanism, and so you can continue to expect that upgrade rates will go like this. What that means is, as developers, we can use the newest and greatest features right away, implement them quickly, and not need to worry as much about legacy support. And having new features and new API options is an excellent reason to give your app an update. Technically, your PlayBook apps will run on BlackBerry 10, but that won't make them the best apps they possibly could. Making use of the new features makes them better. You don't want to just settle for what's currently available. You don't want your app to look out of place. BlackBerry 10 is coming with new UI constructs. You want to be using something that looks like it fits. And if you continue having an old app that looks as if it was designed for PlayBook 1.0, it's going to look out of place and subpar on the new BlackBerry 10 phones. As such, you want to match what BlackBerry is doing. It doesn't matter how great your UI scheme is, or how great your UI controls are, or how much you love them, because people won't necessarily understand them. But if you can match the UI constructs of built-in apps, like the Messages app, the browser, the Notes app, these are apps that everyone's going to use. These are apps that everyone will have installed on their device. If you can match their look and feel, you can provide an interface that is familiar to users and easy to use. You should include swipe-down menus on your PlayBook apps. Whenever I see an app without a swipe-down menu, that frustrates me because it breaks users out of the paradigms that the whole rest of the operating system is using. Also new with BlackBerry 10 is the ability to get deeper integration between different apps, of things like Contacts and BBM, and Facebook, Score Loop, and BBM again. Making use of these new features will make your app better. Particular BBM. The Twinkle app I was telling you about earlier, at one point, I added the ability to share events over BBM. The chart here shows the number of advertising requests per day for the app. You can see at the point where BBM integration was added, that usage of the app shot up, and more importantly, the day-to-day usage of the app remained as high. This is because more users were more engaged thanks to having BBM integrated into your app. So once those APIs come out and become available, it would be silly not to use them. You're going to want to upgrade your apps, make them better, and use the newest and greatest that the platform has to offer. It's also a good way to get your app promoted through App World. If you want to promotion BlackBerry App World, it's best to just work with RIM and work with the message that they are currently promoting. 2 years ago, BlackBerry was pushing the idea of super apps. And if you could do something that paired them, they would promote you. A year ago, it's been BBM, BlackBerry Messenger. If there's a BlackBerry Messenger app, RIM has taken every opportunity to promote those. Once BlackBerry 10 comes out, going to be those that follow the BlackBerry 10 approach, who are highlighting the best of the platform and making use of the new menus and the new UI constructs that they're showing off. It doesn't make sense to fight against it and do your own thing. If you can work with RIM and promote what they're promoting and keep your app updated with the best, you're in a much better position long term. All right, so at this point, I would like to take any questions that you may have. Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. Appreciate you sharing the trade secrets, as it were. When you were talking about bloggers, there's a lot of, polite term, wannabes and a lot of really good bloggers. Are there anyone in particular you would recommend, or how to separate the good from the so-so, so you're focusing your efforts in the right places?
Okay, yeah. Mostly try to have some engagement with the blogs instead of just pushing out what you're saying to the blogs. If you can read them, and if you can kind of keep up with the network of the blogs, you can get a better understanding of what's popular and what's original. In BlackBerry, there's a handful of blogs that almost all the other blogs will just copy off of. And so if you can give it that core group of 8 or so blogs, you're good.
Okay, fair. Thank you. And one more semi-related question. A lot of different app stores popping up in the BlackBerry space and the Android space. You can be everywhere, or you can be more selective. Wondering, we've tended to be more selective with our apps. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are in terms of your approach and what has and hasn't worked.
Like I said, my primary focus has always been the BlackBerry platform, and that's meant BlackBerry App World. And it looks like going forward there's not going to be any other options, and that's okay. I've never used any other app stores. I've been good with App World, and it's the easiest way and it's the expected way to find apps. The story, of course, is a bit more muddled when it comes to things like Android, but I'm still finding my way there a bit.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? No. Sure. Use the mic. No, go. Yeah. It'll be easier for everyone else to hear.
On the topic of promoting your app, you mentioned using fans of your previous applications to promote future apps. I've seen it done a couple of different ways, where sometimes embedded in the app, you'll see a page that says, check out my other apps. I've also, I've got some apps where I receive emails from the app vendors suggesting other apps that they use. I was wondering if you had a preference to either one of those methods or feedback on either one of those methods.
Okay. Well, I'm not a fan of sending out emails like that. I think that puts people kind of in the wrong mood, and they see it as too pushy and try to stay away from it a bit. The approaches I take is, first, I do have links in my apps to other apps that I've created. And, it's a free advertising. It's easy to take advantage of, and for the most part, I've limited myself to doing that in apps where I have advertising anyhow. So it's not like entering advertising into the app is a burden that people are going to be like, oh, why does this app have advertising? I'm doing it more in apps that already had that, so there's no additional cost there. And one more thing. Maybe. I thought of something else, but... Oh, with promoting your apps, yeah.
Yeah.
You can also get some recognition just in the community in general. You know, not something I'm explicitly doing, but people recognize, oh, I understand this app. I've seen apps like this before. I know this vendor, and I trust them. And just a general trust and understanding, and it also helps set the expectations a bit for the style of the app and what it is. You want people to get what they're expecting to download, or else they're going to be unhappy. And if you can be like, okay, so this is the style app, and now you know that, and you can transfer that over and see more similar. And people enjoy that, and people appreciate that.
Have you actually tried the emailing process and found that it didn't work, or have you just stayed away from that?
I've mostly just stayed away from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
To save this gentleman a little bit of pain, we set up Constant Contact, and what we started to do is an outreach program to existing customers, and the ones who like you appreciate it, and the others call you a bunch of names and a spammer. So, you know, to build on the point being made, Constant Contact, when we're reaching out to the press, is a great tool because it looks way more professional than just a dopey email. But reaching out to the end consumer, I think you've got to be careful. And we've done like you. We've posted a link in the free version only, the trial version of our app, to our other apps, because if you put it in the paid version, and maybe your experience has been different, we occasionally get angry email saying, I paid $5 for this, what the hell are you doing? It's like, it's one of our own apps. It's got the same name, same branding.
Yeah, no,
but,
I actually do the same thing. If it's a paid app, there will not be anything approaching advertising in it. No. People, yeah. That really does put people off. And, you know, it'd be nice, but if people pay money for it and they see advertising, people don't like that. They get very unhappy.
Just to add to that same topic, I've got one app that when it installs, I don't send an email, but I place a message in your inbox. And as part of the email, it's instructions on how to use the app, but it also has at the bottom of it, you know, links back to the website, other type of, you know, FYI type information to try to drive them back there. So, I mean, I think that's a way to do it where you're not really spamming them, although I do get feedback too. I've had people install the app multiple times and they're not realizing the app is placing the message there. They think my server's emailing them, so that's something you may consider as well.
Yeah, there's, you know, depending on how far you want to go, there are other approaches where you can kind of take and, you know, sending something straight in the message box is that. I talked earlier about how putting an update reminds people that your app's installed. You could do that programmatically as well. You know, then you're getting into being a little bit pushy with the advertising again, but it's an option. And it'll keep people engaged.
Coming from a traditional video games background, when we worked in that sector with publishers, they would say that the whole cost of development and marketing was an 80-20 split, 20% on development and 80% on marketing. And NG Moco have come out, Neil Young's come out and said, for every dollar you spend making your app, you've got to spend $9 promoting your app. In yours presentation, you're saying kind of you don't have to be spending a lot of money on that. I mean, what's I guess your thought on it is you don't have to be spending that, but what do you think about that markup sort of thing?
Well, my background's in programming and not so much with the advertising thing. And I can't say I've spent much on advertising, but I don't really feel like I saw enough of a return when I did. And so I spend almost nothing on advertising apps at this point because I just don't think that the returns have been there. I think, you know, most of it's a discoverability problem. But like I said, I think people are more likely to actually act on a recommendation from a friend or act on a recommendation that's, specifically written on a blog by someone instead of something that's more just kind of thrown out to the mass market. You definitely can get some response from advertising, but I've personally found it to not be worth my while.
Just to add to that too, my experience has been I've bought banner ads like on mobile hand using those and got zero response from that. But if you get one post on crackberry.com, you'll see a huge spike for at least a couple days. So the blogging does work better than advertising unless you're really going out, big advertising campaign.
Yeah, here's what I've seen. More questions or wrap it up? Okay.
I'm not too sure how many people here were in the marketing presentation earlier that was done, but it was a big discussion about promo codes. And obviously BlackBerry are looking to bring that in so it can get out there to give the market. How do you go about getting your app out to the bloggers and stuff like that when I know maybe promo codes are not available and it's a paid app rather than a free app?
Like just international sales, or?
Yeah, obviously we won't mention the other format that's out there. You can get promo codes that we have products on. When you get an app on there, you get 50 promo codes, send it out to all the reviewers, send it out to all the bloggers. They get a free game. Journalists love free stuff. Obviously, BlackBerry are looking to do the same thing on BB10. But if that's not available at the moment, how do you get your games in the hands of the bloggers, in the hands of the reviewers?
Okay.
If you're giving away if you're looking to have a paid app, and you just say to them, go and download this, it's $1.99. People are like, I ain't gonna.
Okay, yeah. Well, I didn't talk about this really in the talk, but in terms of promotion and generating publicity for my apps, the main thing I do is I have a free version of the apps. I have a few apps that don't have a free version, and they honestly just don't sell as well, not even close. But the apps where I can say, okay, this is the free version, this is the paid version, they do much better. And for the most part, I feel that's because people, if they're going to spend money, they want to know that it's going to be good. And they're hesitant if they haven't seen it at all. But if they can try it out, if they can use it to some extent, they get an idea of what the app is, they know what they're getting into, and they can make a more informed decision if spending a few bucks on it will be worth it or not to them. And in terms of even talking to blogs and whatnot, if you can say, hey, and then you can go download this for free, it goes a long ways.
So, on that topic, so on your free version, are they limited, time limited, or level limited or anything? Or are they purely just free and then you, like the freemium model, and you just get something better? And how do you decide how to limit the free?
Yeah, you have to decide how to do that. And for my game Pixelated, honestly, I'm probably just giving away too much. It's the paid version offers a few different game modes. It offers statistics, but for the most part, almost everything is there. For some of my other apps that have more discrete levels, it's a lot easier. You say, okay, you get this many levels free, and then after that you pay, and that's a more straightforward scheme, but it's a real balancing act.
Okay, so hammering at this point even more, what we've been doing with ours is we give a 7-day free trial, to your point, give people a chance to have a taste. It's key-driven, so after 7 days, your key is short-fused. The app is there, but you've got the option, the repeated friendly reminder, remind me later or purchase now, which has been very effective. That's where we drive most of our volume and push our way up the chart. But as we're launching new apps, particularly in the gaming space, what we're now deliberating is, do we go and have a pay version that has it has no advertising, but it's got in-app purchases, it's got an upfront price of $1 or $2, because that's all you can get for a game, which offends the heck out of me. If you got a feature-rich game, it's offensive, but moving right along. It's just what it is, right? Welcome to reality. But what we're thinking about on the free side, and I'd love your thoughts on it, is do we do a 7-day trial, go to town? Do we give away just level 1 of a 10-level game that, like Angry Birds, will in time have that many more levels? Or do we take the approach of, here's the game, here's the first 10 levels of it, but there's going to be in-app advertising as a revenue stream, and we have in-app purchases because, as we all know with freemiums, people complain about spending $1 or $2 for the app, but they'll throw lots of money at weapons and stuff once they fall in love with the game. So kind of multi-level question there, but wondering what your sentiment and thoughts are on that.
Well, I'm a huge fan of in-app purchasing. I have a few older apps that were around before that was an option, so I don't use it there. But whenever I can use in-app purchasing, I do. And for the most part, I don't worry about getting revenue from the free versions of the apps. I see the free version of the app as pretty much just driving the revenue on the paid version. And so, you know, yeah, there's approaches you can take, but then you have to realize how will that affect the paid app. And for me, mostly I'm just like, okay, well, first 25 levels of the game are free. If you want the rest, $2.99 in-app purchase, you're good to go.
Have you tried in-app advertising, and what's been your experience on the advertising front? Do you get enough click-throughs to make it worth the effort, or is it pennies a month? And,
I used to, but I found that the advertising market has really crashed within the past year. Currently, it's not much. I've had some advertising in my free apps, and when I brought them over to the PlayBook, I didn't even take the time to bring over an advertising source because it's just not made much money lately. A few years ago, I was making a good amount of money, probably almost a fourth of my money from advertisements. Now it's not so much.
So again, with the free version then, you're doing a trial of the first few levels maybe of your game, and then cutting it short, and if they want to, you know, like in your case, you're giving 25 levels out of 75 for argument's sake. You're finding that that's getting you the traction that you want and the conversion rates you'd expect?
Yeah, because it's more people just want to see if they're going to like the game. And if they start playing and they enjoy the game, they can then be like, okay, I want more levels or I don't. People are not going to buy a game if they don't at least get to try it. For the most part, they're like, they'll say it's a lot of money. It's not. We all know it's not. But they'll be like, oh, that's a lot of money. I don't know if I want to risk $3 and see if this game's actually any good or not. Yeah. But if you can get them playing beforehand, then they can say, okay, well, I want to keep doing this. I want more of it. And then you can get to the rest of the levels.
One more question, then I'll give up the microphone. But in terms of cross-platform development, and like you, we've been very BlackBerry-centric and remain very loyal to the cause, but there's a lot of other pretty girls in the room, as it were, so we're looking beyond the confines of the BlackBerry or RIM platforms. Do you have thoughts around, there's Marmalade, there's Accelerator, there's so many, you know, we're doing something in Adobe Air for a racing game. There's so many choices out there. Wondering if you've started to explore and what you're finding in terms of best of class.
I'm really in the same place as you there. I'm seeing lots and lots of choices and not knowing exactly what to go with. At this point, so far, all my PlayBook games are written in Adobe Air. And so that is generally compatible, and I've been approaching Android, in particular the Nook, with those apps. But that's a bit of work, and I'm finding that the Android platforms are not as smooth as the PlayBook is.
Well, yeah, and the multitude of resolutions and you know, little things like
no,
piracy.
That's a lot more work.
A bit. Yeah. Thank you again.
All right, thank you. All right, I think that's it. We're asking for feedback. If you can take some time, tell people how awesome this session was. They threw this slide in here on me. I don't even know what it says. And here's some links to BlackBerry's, for some reason, their business blogs. Thank you.